Hello, everybody. It's Kirsten with Ambler Nutrition. I'm over here at Center on the Hill. Actually, I'm not at Center on the Hill. I'm at home. We're all at home doing the Zoom. But Mary Angela is here with a few other people, and we're going to talk about diabetes nutrition today. And today's topic is meal planning and about food and how food can affect your blood sugar and how it affects your weight, it affects your energy, and all these kind of things. So behind me is a conversation map. We had this when we were having the classes face-to-face, which I really miss everybody. But like I said, we have a few people calling in who can't see the map behind me, but I will describe it as I talk about it. But today we are going to be talking about how food affects our blood sugar and how we should have our meals so that we optimize our health so we don't have to worry about our blood sugar so much. In the very beginning, this is a little walkway through diabetes. It's a little town, and we're talking about how you're going to eat. So in the beginning of the walkway is a cookout, and a bunch of people are sitting down at the picnic table having their meals. And we talked about the food groups last time. The food groups there's 4 of them. We should have them at every meal: carbohydrates and fiber, and protein and fat. Basically, if you're having a fruit or a vegetable, that's going to be carbohydrates and fiber. Even a grain, a bread, a cracker, that's going to be carbohydrates and fiber. And then the proteins, the chicken, the fish, the beef, the cheese, the nuts, they're always going to have a little bit of fat in them. So if you concentrate on having either vegetables and grains with some protein, you have all 4 food groups covered. And it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving dinner. It can be apples and peanut butter. The apples is going to have the carbs and the fiber, and the peanut butter is going to have the protein and the fat. It also has some fiber in there, so that's always good. Fiber is the key. We want to have as much fiber as we can get. If we can get 10 grams per meal, you're golden. That works out to work about 5 cups of vegetables a day. So take a look at the back of some packages of the food that you're having. Just know that fruits and vegetables, if you have a half a cup, it's about 5 grams of fiber in there. So same thing with vegetables. Vegetables even has some more, depending. Well, let's see. Pears are really high in fiber. They have like 9 grams per pear, and most vegetables have 5 to 9 grams of fiber in them too. So looking at having a cup or 2, whether it's a salad or roasted vegetables, that's all wonderful. Let's see, some other things. Well, actually, I have a recipe, and I think you're all seeing it, the CD granola. So talking about fiber, actually on here, I have the dietary fiber in a half a cup of this is 5 grams. This is a very intense granola. It is people who don't see it. So let me just read it for you. You make it in a baking tray, and it's 2 cups of old-fashioned oats. It could be the steel-cut oats, but they're extra crunchy. I would go with the old-fashioned. Don't do it with the quick oats. That'll just turn everything to mush and dust. So use the old-fashioned oats, about 2 cups, 2.5 cups if you like a little bit more, a half a cup of everything else. So it's a half a cup of sliced almonds, a half a cup of walnuts, a half a cup of sunflower seeds. Get them raw. Don't get them salted and roasted. They'll just be little bitter things if you do that. So all these things not toasted. So the almonds, the walnuts, the sunflower seeds, the pepitas, those are little green pumpkin seeds, 3 tablespoons or more of ground flaxseed, and 3 tablespoons or more of chia seed. And you get them all mixed together with about a 1/4 cup of maple syrup or a little bit less. You just need enough to bind it together. Again, it's just going to make it sticky, not make it a bowl, a solid dough. Just going to make it sticky. We drizzle a little bit of olive oil on there, a couple tablespoons, and then add some vanilla extract, like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon of sea salt, just a little sprinkle. And then when it's all mixed together, you put that on a baking sheet. I do it on parchment paper so that the sticky doesn't stick to the baking sheet. And then you cook it for about 20 minutes. And then after the last 10 minutes, you sprinkle in a half a cup of unsweetened coconut chips. It can be the flakes, the chips, whatever you like. At Trader Joe's, all of these are in one aisle. So you can go to Trader Joe's and get a little basket and load everything up, take it to the counter, you got your granola. And this makes 14 half-cup servings. And that's if you have a whole half cup. Like I said, it's a half a cup of nuts, basically. It's very intense. And I will have it on the Special K protein cereal or on the cashew protein cereal. I have like a quarter cup of each. It's delicious. Even a half a cup of each. You're still looking at a cup of cereal with some berries. It's a very hearty breakfast. I'll put it on yogurt. We put it on desserts. We had it on ice cream the other night. So it's delightful, it's sweet, but it's also crunchy, and it is a little bit salty too. And when you get down to the nutrition, a half a cup is about 250 calories. So that's not a big breakfast. That's why I added on other cereal. You can put it on oatmeal, put it on yogurt, that kind of thing. So your calories is 255. It does have about 15 to 19 grams of fat, depending on how much you drizzle the oil. But the seeds all have some fat in it too. So it's not a low fat thing. That's why we say just a half a cup. But the potassium is only 22 milligrams. So a lot of people with kidney disease, this is not an issue at all for them. They can have this with Rice Dream and on whatever cereal they like. The sodium is only 18 milligrams. Again, don't get salted almonds, don't get salted sunflower seeds, just get the raw stuff. And the whole carbohydrate for a half a cup of this is only 18 grams. So it's like a piece of bread. The fiber is 5 grams, and the protein is about 8 to 10 grams, depending on how much and where you get. A half a cup of the sliced almonds, sometimes it's compacted, sometimes it's fluffy, so it really depends. But it's delicious. Like I said, it's a treat on desserts. And this is a great way to add fiber to pretty much any meal, whether it's a breakfast cereal or a dinner dessert. And I can stop sharing that. It will... Mary Angela is going to make this available. How are you going to email people, or I forget?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a link when I post our video. I'll be like, a link to the recipe is right here, so that way they can access it.
I have a quick question. How do you store this? I've never made granola before.
I just put it in the refrigerator in a plastic bag or in a glass jar with a lid, and I have not been able to have it last more than 2 weeks.
Okay, well, you're a family, so that's a different,
Actually,
maybe your children.
I'm not a family anymore. It's just me and my husband, and he doesn't really eat that. He eats eggs and sausages.
Okay.
So it goes pretty quick. But even still, I keep walnuts in the refrigerator for months, 3 months. So this, I would think that is the most fatty of all the seeds. So it should be able to stay in your refrigerator for 3 months, but I'll bet you'll eat it before that. If you wanted to cut it in half and just do a quarter cup of everything, that would work out too. So,
can I get your opinion on if I bought a store-bought granola from either Whole Foods or Trader Joe's? Do you think they're just too high in fat and too salty, or do you just don't think they're worthwhile?
They're super expensive, first of all. They're not going to give you 14 servings, and they are high in sugar, and they are not as high in fiber. So I love this because of the fiber. Fiber keeps us full, and it also has a lot of protein. When I first got this recipe, it was from a dietitian online, and she said it had 24 grams of protein in there. That's why it first attracted me. But when I ran it through my recipe calculator, Spark Recipes, if you ever want to do it, sparkrecipes.com, you put in all the ingredients, it worked out to only about 8 to 10 grams of protein. So still, it's a decent amount of protein for half a cup, and 24 grams of protein is a lot. I was really surprised about that. But yeah, the store-bought ones, I feel that they just cost a lot more. There's a preservative in them, and they have a lot more carbs. This is only 18 grams of carbs, so I like it. Is there one that I've seen that I like? Not really.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, like I said, I've never made it, and it seems like a lot of.
It's a lot of ingredients.
I wish you could recommend it. I don't even know about that.
Well, do you ever go to Trader Joe's?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's just that nut aisle. It's almost every single one of those. You just get a bag of each, put them in your thing, and then you can make many servings of this. So you can put the bags in your fridge, or Actually, no. Yeah,
all
I do
right.
have a lot of seeds left over. So this is going to be, I don't know, the bags are anywhere from $6 to $7 each. And no, there's some that are $3.99. So $4 to $6 each. And how many bags are there? Maybe 6. So at the most it's $24, and those granolas are like $6 each. So this gives you way more. Yeah, I would say this gives you more than 4 servings of that
Okay.
granola that you buy in the store.
All
But
right,
again,
I
you
am
see,
interested. If you ever run across, like those co-ops that people used to talk about on Germantown Avenue, you don't know of
Weaver's
a good
Way.
granola?
Yeah, yeah. Just check the package and see what the carbs are, because I find that they have low protein and high carbs. So, because it's
Okay.
mostly oats, where this is,
And you
there
know
was
what?
another,
On that vein, might not be a lesson for today, but it's something I want a refresher on. Is when you're reading the nutrition level, not only are we looking at the carb count, but the fiber and the protein.
mm-hmm.
And when it talks about the sugar, I'm very confused at that level. And like I said, we don't need to talk about it today,
Yeah, no, we
but that's
can.
something I hope that I'm very confused about. When you get below the carb line, it has like a sugar indicator and then some other indicator.
Yeah, fiber
And
and stuff.
yeah, so
Absolutely. Let me talk to you about labels right now, because we are talking about food, and, we talked about the food groups, the protein and the fat and the carbs and the fiber, and looking on the labels. So, for your meal, you'd like it to be close to 10 grams of fiber in your meal. So if you're going to have a bowl of cereal and you're going to add some banana or some apple or some whatever you're going to have, that's going to be a little bit more fiber than what the cereal is. But for the sugar, I would absolutely not look at that. That is, it's a filler thing that they put on the nutrition. There is so many things that increase your blood sugar besides sugar. I would always, always, always look at the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates take in every single thing that could possibly turn your food to sugar is going to be in the carbohydrates. The sugar is
okay, and that's what causes me to get confused and like concerned. Like, am I eating some sugar that isn't calculated into the carb,
no, it's
or is this
included. Yeah, so the
okay?
sugar, if it says 4 grams of sugar and 20 grams of carbs, that means that if you took the sugar out, then it would only have 16 grams of carbs. So that 4
Okay.
grams is included in the total carbs. And the carbs is going to be the oats, it's going to be the vanilla, it's going to be all the parts of the seed. So it doesn't actually include only the syrup. You think that syrup has a lot of carbs in it, but the sugar will only include the syrup, where the carbs include all those different ingredients. So definitely, like I said, that sugar on there is just a filler. And same thing with trans fat. There is no trans fat in anything anymore. So the fact that they put that with a 0, big deal, everything is 0. It's just a filler on the nutrition label. So when you're looking at the label, absolutely look at the serving size, because I don't know if you've seen a bag of chips lately, but it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall. There's 2.5 servings in there. I don't know who is sharing that little bag with 2.5 servings. And I can't do the math with 2.5. If it was 2, we could just do the math easy. So look at the serving size, and then from the serving size, all of those in nutrition things are going to be for 1 serving. So if just make sure that it's 1 serving on that bag, and if it isn't, then you're going to have to multiply. So let's say,
Okay.
and for the meals, let's see, the calories. If you are on a 1,500 calorie diet, you're going to want your calories per meal to be about 500. So if this is a full breakfast and it's only 200 calories, you're going to have to find something with about 200 or 300 calories more in it. Whether it's going to be more fruit or toast or whatever you want to have to get your breakfast up to, 400 or 500 calories. So the calories, the serving size, then it's going to talk about fat. Mm-hmm. Did you have a question? Okay. Yeah, it's going to talk about fat, and fat you want it to be less than 10%. If it's going to be over 10%, that's a really greasy food, and you might want to put it on a napkin and let it, like some chips are really greasy, put them on a napkin or have them after you've been having most of your meal, so that way the fat is more diluted with the rest of the food that you're eating. But yeah, you want your fat to be less than 10%. Sodium, again, if you're on a 1,500 milligram sodium diet, divide it by 3, 500 milligrams of sodium fits right in that. So if something is 490, that's fine. If it is 700, then you know that's pretty salty and you're going to have extra water with that meal, or have less of it. Then the salt, what else is on that label? But the fiber, it's going to say carbohydrates. So our bodies can take 3 servings of carbohydrates per meal. A serving is 15 grams. So if it's under 45 grams or 46 grams of carbohydrates, even if it's under 50 grams, then that's a healthy food for you. The less carbs it has, of course, the better. And that's why I can't believe this cereal with all these seeds and nuts and oats and syrup is only 18 grams of carbs. So that's a beautiful thing to have. And put some milk on there, put some berries on there, then, you can get up to the, 40 grams, or I don't even think you can get up that high. I think milk has like 8. Anyway, so, and then the last thing, we get into the fiber. Again, you're looking for 10 grams of fiber per meal. If this has 8, add some berries to it. There you are, you're up to 10. And then the last thing is the protein. So everybody's protein is different. The bigger people are going to need more like 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal, and smaller people are going to need between 12 and 15, 18 grams of protein. So if you're right in the middle, 20 grams of protein is a nice number to aim for. And if you get a little bit more for breakfast and you have a little bit less for dinner, that's fine. Our digestive system works really well for breakfast and lunch, and not so much for dinner. And we all are having dinner at night, and that's our biggest meal. And our bodies are just not used to it. You think after all these years we've been living that we could do it, but it just gets worse. So the best way to maintain nutrients and getting all the nutrients from your body and digesting it efficiently and quickly is have most of your calories before 3 o'clock. That means a pretty good sized breakfast, dinner for lunch, and then have something light for dinner. It is very difficult to do in our society, the way our culture is. But thinking about if you are going to make a dinner in the evening, just have mostly the vegetables and a little bit of the protein out of it, and then save 3/4 of it or 2/3 of it for your lunch the next day. That's it's a tough way to, when you're going out to eat and that kind of thing, but it's a really good way to maintain your weight or even lose weight if you can have a very small dinner. So we talked about the food groups and the nutrition label. We talked about eating times. Have a little something within 2 hours of waking up, have something in the middle of the day, and have something a couple hours before you go to bed, maybe 4 hours before you go to bed. But basically, you want to eat every 4 to 6 hours. If you eat every 6 hours, that's fine. But if we wake up and we don't eat anything, it puts a stress on our body, and then our body will increase our blood sugar. And when the liver, it looks at all the sugar that's in our veins, in our bloodstream, and they say, oh, do we need this for energy right now? Or should I save it for later? Or should I make cholesterol with it? Or should I really save it for later and put it into fat? So if you're having most of your calories, I know a lot of people who have maybe 200 calorie breakfast and 300 calorie lunch. That adds up to 500 calories. Yeah, well, they have 600 or 700 calories for dinner. So, try to switch that around so you're having more like 200 calories for dinner. And it's easy to do when you have a really big, hearty lunch. And then, if you're not hungry for dinner, especially with this heat, we all want lighter things in the evening. So did anybody have any questions?
I just had one thought. Some of these like TV dinner type things, do they have a lot of false fiber in them? I mean, I heard this from another dietitian that talked to us once. She actually was a nurse, nutritionist type person, and she was only there once, and she talked about actually Jenny Craig's meals, and she said they were awful, really bad. They were full of this false fiber that, didn't satiate, and also went through our body in a way that wasn't healthy. Do you have a comment on that?
Absolutely, and I even have a patient who's recently bought a whole bunch of Nutrisystem food, which is similar. Any of these prepackaged foods that are geared towards losing weight, they put a lot of carrageenan and guar gum and these fillers, dextrose and things. They are a fiber, but they really slow the stomach down, so that way you don't feel hungry, but you really don't get a lot of nutrition. So unfortunately, like I said, she bought this 3-month supply, and she's on this schedule, and now she has all these there are a lot of shakes and little ice cream sandwiches and some other things that I would really recommend, but I can't tell her to throw them away and she can't get her money back. So I say, absolutely eat these foods how you're supposed to eat them, tell them, but then I would absolutely add a salad, add another vegetable to it, something that's going to keep you full. If you wanted to, increase, put some sunflower seeds on your broccoli or add some edamame beans to your salad, but just have this dish as kind of your entree and then add some vegetable sides to it. I think that will help. She also had some breakfast things. There was this egg, I think it was egg and cheese on a half an English muffin. These are all frozen. She takes it out. And I said, okay, so saute up some spinach, put that on there, or have it with a bowl of berries. Again, bringing some life into these dead packaged foods, then you should be fine. And honestly, there are a lot of good frozen dinners out there. If you check, the calories are like 200 or 300. So if you do want to go down that road, just keep on going, get the food that you want to have, the different meals that are already prepared, they're delightful, but then keep on going down to the frozen vegetable section where you can get the broccoli or the onions and the peppers already mixed together and chopped up and, add those to the meal. That's what do you think about that? That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, like, I hardly ever do this, but if I do get like a lean cuisine that's a chicken fettuccine with broccoli, I'll add a whole single serving package of frozen broccoli to it.
Yep.
Like, I'll try to do something like that, but I don't do that very often. It's only when I don't have time to do anything.
And that's how we live our lives. Definitely aim for the 70-30, where 70% you're on track, you got a planned meal, you know what you're going to do. And then 30% is spontaneity. You might be out with friends, you just didn't have something planned and it's a Monday night and you don't feel like going to the store. Pull out one of these lean cuisines and these kind of things. I think that's a great idea. And like you said, now they have almost everything from Brussels sprouts, onions and peppers, just straight onions, putting those in a pan and getting those all, golden and delicious. And then I'd keep them in a jar. So anytime I want to add it to sandwiches and things, the more plants we can add, the better. I think I mentioned.
Yeah, and the dollar store actually has steamable single serving vegetables.
Yeah, I love the dollar store.
I love that. I mean, it's like you can get asparagus and broccoli and you can steam it. It steams right in your microwave in 3 minutes.
Yep.
And you just dump it in your dish,
And it's delicious.
And I like the asparagus too. I think it's, for a frozen vegetable, it turns out better than you would guess.
Yeah. Oh no, chop it up. It's delicious. I love it in eggs, all that kind of thing. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing that. And like I said, we want these meals, you want your meals to be, unless you're on a 900 calorie diet, which I don't recommend, that would be like 300 calories a meal. And that's what a lot of these packaged things are. Very few of them I see are closer to 500. Or if they are 500 is because of all the fat that goes with them. They'll have some kind of extra sauce. A lot of the, I don't know, I've seen a few of them that will have this extra sauce, and the sauce is what's making it real fat. But
can I ask you, is that sauce also artificial or some kind of a false sauce?
Right.
Could you have a comment on that?
Yeah, a lot of these sauces are thickened with the guar gum and the carrageenan and the things that we wouldn't cook in our house. It's done through the factory. So is that the ice cream truck? I think I hear an ice cream truck. Ice cream is good food. It's a carbohydrate. And if you know you're going to have ice cream, whatever with your family and your friends, just don't have any carbs in your dinner. That's one thing that is on this conversation map. A man is standing and everyone's having ice cream and he's got a red face crossing his arm. He's all mad. He can't have any. That's not true. When you have diabetes, you can have carbohydrates like ice cream but you just want to have them, after, with your meal. So don't wait an hour for the dessert, and have the whole thing together. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? So the body parts, we were talking about that last time. So there's many ways that our body makes us increase our blood sugar. This is the fight or flight response that we had as cavemen. So if you don't eat for a long time, yeah, your liver will have all that food from before, and it will increase your blood sugar a lot. That's what metformin cuts off. So if you're taking metformin, your blood sugar will not go up to a certain amount. But metformin will not take sugar away. So if you have high blood sugar, the metformin won't reduce it. It keeps it just as what you need for your brain and your lungs and your heart and all that kind of thing. And then, so your liver, your muscles also has sugar in it. So when you first start exercising, your blood sugar is going to go up. There's different medication, TZDs and stuff that will reduce the sugar coming from your muscles and your liver and your muscles and your stomach. There's different enzymes that your pancreas gives out for your stomach and your intestines that makes you slow the food down so you can get more nutrition out of it, and that causes your sugar to be higher than if your food was just going to whiz right through you. So all these different ways that we don't want to stress our body to the kidneys too. When you're having a high blood sugar and you drink lots of water, the water will go through your kidneys and wash all that sugar out of there. So there's medicines that increase how much sugar your kidneys get rid of too. So there's a lot of different ways that our body increases blood sugar. And there's also a lot of different ways that in our lives we can increase our blood sugar, not just by food, but also certain medications, cold medications and different things will increase our blood sugar. Definitely the steroids and that type of thing will increase our blood sugar. Alcohol is a toxin. It puts a stress on the body. Sugar goes up. Juice is really not needed. It's not needed for kids and it's not needed for adults. Tomato juice or vegetable juice, V8 and stuff, that has 35 calories. It's not even a thing. So I highly recommend that. But the seltzers and the herbal teas, it gets you a lot of little minerals and vitamins that you wouldn't get if you just drank plain water. Coffee is amazing, full of all different kinds of antioxidants. I would get more a mild roast instead of this burnt Italian roast or whatever they do, but the less roast coffee is more nutritious and easier on your system. Let's see. I do have this, we talked about the labels, yeah, with the protein and the carbohydrate, the cholesterol and the fat. Yeah, sugars is just a filler. You know, you shouldn't have to worry about that. And definitely, it would be great if all the convenience stores had healthy food for us. Wawa's doing better, and some of the bodegas will also have bananas and apples and things, but it's really important that we plan our meals. Otherwise, we're stuck to fend for ourselves in the grocery store or in the bodegas, the little convenience stores. And it's 30% of the time is fine, but if 75% we can, plan for having lots of vegetables with our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'll definitely include berries in that. When you think about the carbohydrates, it's the refined grains, all the baked goods and the pasta and that kind of thing. It's the fruits, and those two categories, the grains and the fruits, especially if they're refined grains, they get digested really easily. So don't eat them on an empty stomach. Have some of your other vegetables and your chicken and thing first. And then that has fat and protein and fiber, so that way when those easily digested fruit or baked goods come into your stomach, they have, the stomach is blocking, is blocked by all the fat and the carbs and the fiber. So that's a good thing to do. If you're going to have a snack of grapes, for example, I would have either some nuts or some cheese or some peanut butter or something. Even, if you have some little chicken or something left over, tuna fish, but just have something in your stomach. So a hard-boiled egg, something so that the grapes don't just, well, if you have low blood sugar, 17 grapes brings you out of low blood sugar. So that's how effective grapes are. But frozen grapes are delicious. They're a great treat. If you're thinking about ice cream or frozen grapes, yeah, I would say there's a lot more nutrition in the frozen grapes than in the ice cream. And nutrition is really the key. If our bodies can get everything that it needs, we're less stressed and we can fight off infections. And also, if we are having diabetes and we have a high blood sugar, having more nutrition helps us fight having so much high blood sugar. Again, it's not going to raise our blood sugar. Our bodies are going to be calm. We can pee out a lot of, the extra sugars and things with water and all of that type of thing. I talked about the food groups, but water is really important, and especially now that it's so hot. It's been in the 90s for most of, half of June and all of July, and it's going into August. Now is the time to be drinking extra water. So typically, a person who weighs about 150, 200 pounds should have between 4 to 6 16-ounce bottles of water. So now you're going to be 6 or 7. And it doesn't have to be water. It can be seltzer. It can be herbal tea, something that is not sweetened, sweetened with sugar or sweetened with artificial sugars. So is there any questions about that I've talked about? Do you have any questions that you can think about?
No. Your V8 comment, I really don't like the taste of V8. Is tomato juice just as good?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Tomatoes don't have a lot of carbs in them, and gives lycopene and vitamin C. It's very good. And the majority of what is in a V8 is the tomato juice. So if you're not having the spinach or the beets or whatever else is in there, the carrot juice, you're fine. I think it's not.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
I am wondering about protein powders. So I drink smoothies in the morning. Every morning I actually juice vegetables once a month, and then I freeze the juice. And so then I put a frozen vegetable juice stick into my blender, and then I put in I use 1 cup of frozen fruit. So I really limit myself so I don't get crazy with the blueberries. I add 1 cup of almond milk, and then a cup of water. And that's how I get my smoothie. But I also add a protein powder, and it took me a long time to find, I didn't want whey, so I tried to steer away from that. But I always read, the backs, and I'm going for the ones, I use a protein powder now that doesn't have any added sugar in it, which is great. So the sugar number is 1 or something. It's 1 gram of sugar in that, which is great. But then I noticed that some of them kind of have a lot of carbs, because I guess people use protein powders for bodybuilding and stuff. So
muscle milk.
Right. And so it's been a challenge to sort of find the ones that are because I want that extra protein in there, because I am a person who needs kind of a lot of protein to get my breakfast going. And I'm just wondering kind of, what should I be looking for? I am looking for, because if I'm putting those things that I just mentioned in it, right, I'm getting a lot of vitamins and nutrients, and I feel like I'm in the right place. But then, I'm putting a protein powder in it that has 12 grams of protein, which is great. But then it also comes with, some level of carbs and.
Yeah. I have found that a lot of protein powders in the grocery store mostly are the whey. And whey is from cow's milk. And most of my patients and people that I know are sensitive to either the protein in the cow's milk or the milk, the sugar that's in the lactose sugar that's in the cow's milk. So I was just looking at all the different vegan sources, where it's from peas or tapioca or other vegetables. The peas are a good one. I find that a lot. And the pea protein, they can be gummy. They can be sandy, and they can be bad taste, like cardboard, these kind of things. So I've found 3 that are pretty half decent. The one that's half decent is cheap. It's from Trader Joe's. It's $12. It's pea protein. Definitely get the sweetened one. It's sweetened with dried coconut and a little bit of vanilla flavoring. It has a good texture. It has a good taste. And let's just say it's not bad. I like it, and it has I think 2 scoops of 20 grams. So it has a little scoop. So the serving is good. And it's, like I said, it's cheap, $12. Most other ones are in the $20 to $30 range. There's one vegan, let's think, Vegan Smart. It's not Vega. That one is not good. It's like sawdust. But the Vegan Smart is pretty good. You can get that at CVS and at Giant. It's a little expensive, like $25, something like that. There's this one that tastes great. And the vegan also only has, I think, 10 ingredients in it, and it's all natural kind of stuff that would be sweetened. I think there might be some sucralose in it, but it's very little. This is not something you would sweeten a smoothie with. It's more just to balance out the pea flavor of it. Then the other one that I really like, Well, there's two of them. One is really expensive. It's about $45. You do get 2 pounds of it, but it's called Stellar Labs. And that one is done with peas and tapioca and something else. So it's a variety of different proteins. It doesn't have a lot of ingredients, less than 10. It doesn't, I think it might, again, have a little bit of sucralose in it, or maybe it has stevia in it. It has a little bit of stevia. So the artificial sweetener in it is not bad. But again, it's really expensive. So, but you do get 2 pounds and it does last a long time. The one that is my absolute favorite and is ranging between $25 and $30 is called Evolve. And this one has a fantastic texture. It truly is like the finest, it's like the finest sugar. It doesn't clump. It isn't gummy. It blends really well in the blender. You can put your finger in it and lick it, and it tastes great. It does have some stevia in it. It does have some sugar in it. But the calories, I think, are 100 calories for 2 scoops, 20 grams of protein. The texture is great. And I think it only has like 7 or 8 ingredients in it. So it's not a lot of ingredients, and it is perfect for smoothies. It lasts really well. Ours, I think I buy them like 2 or 3 times a year. So these things can last 4 or 5 months without getting chalky or whatever. My parents actually had, oh my gosh, I got it for my parents about a year ago. And then I was there in February. So this is like 14 months later, and it's still a great texture. It wasn't getting caked. It wasn't stale. So yeah, it's called Evolve. It comes in vanilla and chocolate. I think there's a couple other flavors, but I think the chocolate is less expensive than the vanilla, but both of them go really well with the fruit. The only thing I would say is you have a volume in your smoothie. I love the idea of a cup of fruit, whether it's spinach and blueberries or kale and apples. Having a cup of that is great. Or if you didn't even do the greens and you just did the berries, a cup of berries or a cup of melon is 15 grams of carbs. So that is a good serving. A cup of berries or whatever you want to have to mix it with, and then put the protein powder in. There's also an almond creamer that makes things delightful. If you wanted to add a couple tablespoons of that, that does add 30 calories, but the flavor is amazing. They just take almond milk and they've condensed it, so it's thick and sweet, but again, not a lot of chemicals in there. And then if you were to add a half a cup of milk, like the 30-calorie almond milk, and then no water, you're gonna have a thick shake. But well, I guess if you're thinking about how you can add more water to your life, yeah, if you want to add a whole cup of milk and a whole cup of water, that's fine. But that's a big smoothie.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's 2 cups. Fits in my little. This is my 2-cup smoothie from this morning.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
That's chock full because it had a cup of berries in there too.
It's right. It's breakfast.
That's a good breakfast. I would definitely add, some kind of a seeds or nuts. Well, I don't know, maybe not. Do you think you ever need like a multigrain toast with that or anything?
I mean, I'm always really full, and
Okay.
I feel I have a lot of energy. I think
Yes, you
those
do.
20 grams of protein in there. So,
Yep.
and that'll get me through till 1 o'clock. Like I drink
Okay.
that in the morning, and then
That's great. Another option is to do the protein powder with frozen coffee. So when you have coffee left over, you put it in your ice cream tray or ice cube trays. That you would need to have a little bit of creamer, and then those sweet protein powders like Evolve, and then some milk. That's delightful. But if you're just going to do coffee, it's not a lot of fiber. So I would add the multigrain toast or add some berries on the side. Not mixed in with the coffee.
That's great. Thank you.
The protein shake, I think it's a wonderful way to wake up. We can get all kinds of different fruits frozen. And like I said, if you wanted to add some greens in there, just extra nutrition, extra iron, and magnesium and everything else. So yeah, the spinach or Swiss chard, these kind of things that are like spinach, they go really good with blueberries. Where the kale is more, it isn't as strong a flavor as spinach. They go nicely with the apples, and I don't know what goes with peaches. Somebody was telling me about a peach and green smoothie, but it's always fun to experiment. And now you can get spinach and things in the freezer. So well, actually, no. Right now, the stores are still limited. I haven't been able to find the asparagus. I haven't been able to find the spinach. Or if I do, I get the last one. So, yeah, frozen vegetables are just as good as regular vegetables. And just one more thing about, because it's about a quarter of, about the diabetes or any kind of disease is if you are having a chronic disease, your body is already stressed. If you can have some plant-based meals, that puts help. It just eases up on the pressure that your pancreas or your digestive system or your heart has to work on if it's going to be, because any kind of animal protein, whether it's cheese or eggs or beef or fish, is going to have a lot of extra fat. The serving size for adults to have fat is about 2 tablespoons a day. So that works out to be less than a quarter cup of nuts, and then no more fat other than that. So having just a quarter cup of oil, a couple tablespoons of oil a day, yeah, it's a couple tablespoons of oil a day. That covers your joints and your skin and your hair. So that's all that we need. And now they're also saying, the research is showing, why does fat slow us up? Why does it delay the blood sugar? Why does it cause people to gain weight? And it really is because it delays the blood sugar from increasing. So when it does increase, like often you'll be in bed already. And if you have high blood sugar and you're in bed, the liver is like, wow, I got all this stuff, I better save it. It can save it in the liver, or it can make it into fat. So if you want to lose weight, watch out how much fat you're adding. It is difficult to saute onions in broth. I have tried this, it doesn't work, but I will start with like a teaspoon of oil just to get the pan coated, and then get the onions in there. I'll do other vegetables too, because all that liquid helps cook down. And the grill is amazing. What is that, 400, 500, 600 degrees? It can really cook things nicely and crispy without having to add a lot of oil. Watch out for the Alfredo sauces and the pesto sauces. I pushed them before, because Alfredo's with cream, it has a lot of protein in it, and with the cheese and everything. And same thing with the pesto, all that greens concentrated. I just made, I don't know, maybe it was 2 cups of pesto with probably 4 cups of kale and half a cup of basil, because that's all that I had, and I was cleaning out the garden. That pesto was delicious, but I would have to use a lot of oil to get all of that mixed in. So I used only a couple of tablespoons, and then I added water. And it did make it a little frothy, so it was a lighter color. It wasn't that dark green, but it was delicious on a cracker with the garlic and the salt. And I did it with walnuts, because walnuts are good for you, and pine nuts are very expensive, and I'm so cheap. So, but it went great. I think like I said, I made about 2 cups of it. We ate 1 cup for dinner, but the other cup was just me, my daughter, my husband tasting it to see if it needed more salt and more this and that. We went through like a little bag of crackers, and it was so delicious. And then you think about it in the course of preparing this and then having the lunch. What is that? Maybe an hour. We all ate about 6 cups of kale. That's a lot of kale. So I do like pesto for that reason, that you can get a lot of greens in a small amount of space, and it gives a lot of nutrition fast, a lot of fiber fast. But just watch out for, if you can't get it to come together with 2 tablespoons of oil, try adding a little bit of water. The nuts should be able to also, grind it up a little bit better, a little Parmesan cheese and salt and stuff in there. Yeah, my recipe for pesto, do I have it online? Oh, I don't think I have it on this computer. But it's pretty easy. It's a cup of greens with a half a cup of basil and a quarter cup of nuts and a big clove of garlic. How much cheese? A couple tablespoons of grated, or a chunk of the Parmesan cheese, and then 2 tablespoons of oil. And if it can't come together, then add a little bit of water. And I hate to say add water to things, but it works. And it makes, and same thing when you're making hummus. Hummus takes a lot of oil as well. So save the chickpea liquid, and you can use that instead of oil for making the hummus. And you add the garlic and the lemon and all the other flavors that are so good. I love roasted peppers in the hummus and that kind of thing. Somebody made a lemon one. There's a beet one you can make with chickpeas and pickled beets, and you add lemon to that. It's surprising how yummy that is. But having these little pesto things, that gives you a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, a lot of flavor. So many people are like, oh, I want my fried chicken and my mac and cheese and my, grilled cheese and all these kind of foods. And it is nothing compared to the flavor of like a beet hummus or the kale pesto, having it on different kinds of grains. There's a much richer flavor in a quinoa as opposed to a white rice. So these people who want to stay with, you know, the meals that we grew up when we were teenagers or young children, that's a certain palette of flavor. But once you get into the plant-based foods with different pestos and, you know, the nuts and the seeds and things, it's a whole other realm of a lot more flavor. The roasted peppers on just about anything. Do I need to talk about, yeah, I talked about the fats. Watch out, it delays the sugar from increasing, so your body ends up sleeping with it. So unless you're going to eat something greasy in the morning and be active, that would be a good way to, if you're going to have some greasy food. And then watch out for the alcohol, because it is a toxin, so have that with food. If you walk into a party and they hand you a champagne glass, try to get some cheese or some crackers or something first. So that your body isn't shaken up. And then when you're at the farmer's market, look at, you know, the different proteins that they have, but also look at all the different kinds of vegetables we can get now. Kohlrabi is this big green ball with some leaves coming out of it. I call it like a little spaceship. It's great, grated into salads, make something crunchy, like grated carrots, only this is way more crunchy. But it doesn't have that bite that radishes would have, for example. Now there's white radishes and red radishes. The white ones aren't as pungent. So if you wanted to have them with some cucumbers and some dill, some Greek yogurt, that's a wonderful thing. And then definitely try these plant proteins. There's Beyond Meat. They have a brat that is better than regular brat. It's not as greasy. It's got great seasoning. It's amazing on the grill. The Impossible Burger, again, a really good meat. That's what I made my vegetarian meatloaf with. We still have some of that. It is just so good. And unfortunately, I couldn't get the regular. I also went with, I did the Impossible Burger with the Beyond Meat burger. But that Beyond Meat ended up being Mexican flavored. So it's more of a sloppy Joe instead of a meatloaf, but still, it's really good. And looking at all these breakfast sausages, Light Life has a tube. They have some crunches, little crumbles and things, sauteing up some greens and some onions and some peppers, one potato, just dice it up. I usually cook it first for a couple minutes and then put it in the fry pan. It gets softer that way. But with the plant-based sausages, it's a breakfast hash that is to die for. I gave it to my contractor and he's like, oh no, I don't eat all that earthy, crunchy stuff. And I'm like, well, I made some sausage hash. You want to taste? And he's like, this stuff is great. I'm like, yeah, that's Light Life. It's really good. So I should talk to Light Life. I do a lot with them. They've figured a lot of things out. Yep.
What was in that, in the hash, what was the thing that was crunchy?
Potatoes. so
Just regular potatoes?
So I would get the frozen peppers. I cook an onion and then add those frozen peppers to it. And while that's doing, I'll dice up a tomato until like a half-inch dice or really small, and I'll boil it in water just for like 5 minutes. And then I take it out so it's still a little bit crunchy. And then I put it in the fry pan. And once all those things get nice and cooked, then I put the sausage in. And with all those different vegetables, there's a juice that develops, and that can crisp up the sausage. So depending on which sausage you use, some of them are just links and they're already, you put them in the pan, they turn brown. Other ones, you have to take them out of the tube and form little sausages and put that in with all these vegetables, and they'll turn brown that way. But otherwise, you have to basically add oil to the pan and brown these sausages. But if you can do it with the vegetables, so it's the onions, the peppers, just one little potato, like less than a cup total. And then greens. So whatever green you have, whether it's kale or spinach or Swiss chard or I did it with purple cabbage the other day. Boy, that was delicious. Regular green cabbage. Can't think of. Oh, I had a grilled vegetable sandwich, and they did it with broccoli. Broccoli would go good in this. I was really amazed. That was at Mrs. P's, or Mr. P's, that pizza place. Yeah, they have a really good grilled vegetable sandwich, and like I said, there's broccoli in it, so a good protein. I think they did hummus on there too, and some cheese. I got one from Wawa. So disappointed. Really, Wawa, they got to get it together. That's what I have to say. But yeah, Mrs. P's was good. But breakfast hash, the protein shakes. These are all great breakfasts that have no meat in them, no animal protein. It's just, these the plant-based proteins. What are some other? Oh, and then that seedy granola. So there are 3 good ideas for plant-based breakfast. And then lunch, and in the middle of the day, all those cooking classes that we had, those are all great things to have in the middle of the day. And then in the evening, just having, the other night we were at the farmer's market and they had wax beans on sale. So we had a big bowl of wax beans and then we had a fruit milkshake for dessert. The protein powder. So that was a good dinner. And again, with the beans, I think it was 100 calories. We put a little avocado butter in it. Oh my God, that's so good. So maybe it was 200 calories. And then with the shake, that was 300 calories. And we were very, very full. And it was delicious. But you could do that with cauliflower and broccoli and asparagus, any vegetable with a protein shake or, peanut butter toast. They'll all hold you for the night, especially if you've had, a dinner for lunch. So let's see. Oh, it's almost 1 o'clock. Is there any other questions?
What's the conversation map for next week?
Next week we're going to be off, right?
Yes. So we'll be back on the 22nd. There's no.
Okay, I didn't realize this was so the 15th we're off, the 22nd we're back.
Yes.
Do you happen to know what the map is for the 22nd?
Yeah, we're going to do blood sugar and look for patterns and what causes blood sugar to go up and I don't know, just avoiding complications. I'm not sure what we're going to do at the end of the month. If I'm going to be in the kitchen, I just don't know. Oh, we might be able to. The thing is, I'm not in the kitchen right now or downstairs because we're having construction doing. So they're hammering and all that kind of thing. So next week, they're still going to be hammering. But the week after, I might be able to do something in the kitchen with a recipe.
That'd be great.
Okay, if that's the case, I might go on to my cell phone. Thank you. I'm glad I clued in. I heard some things that were good to hear again or that I hadn't heard before.
Well,
like the sugar line.
Thank you. And thank you for your questions. I'm always glad to answer questions. And you actually have my phone number if you want to call me anytime. But yeah, I'm with Ambler Nutrition, 215-527-4193. Call me anytime. I'd love to answer some questions if anybody has any. And I'd love everybody to join me on Wednesdays. We're doing this from 12 to 1 now every day, except for the 3rd Wednesday in July. We're going to do it through August. And like I said, pretty much the first week is just general nutrition for general diabetes information, how insulin works, that kind of thing. Then the second week is always food. The 3rd week is going to be avoiding complications. And the 4th week is in the kitchen, going to do some kind of recipe. But we're not in a kitchen now, so I'm always figuring out what to do. And I think the last month we ended up doing, again, how to avoid complications, look for patterns, things that you can do to reduce your blood sugar with either diet or, of course, always talk to your doctor. And if your blood sugars are high or your blood sugars are low, your doctor should be able to get your blood sugars to average 120, but if you're not checking your blood sugar, and you're not gaining weight, you're probably doing really good. So I'm glad everybody could join us today.
Thanks, Kirsten, for everything. Thank you, Sheila, for joining us. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.